Hello, welcome back. So today I want to talk about journaling, specifically for people who've tried it and quit, or who want to start but keep putting it off. Because I think a lot of people who want to journal and end up not doing it, or doing it like for 3 days and then stopping, the issue most of the time comes from the way they approach it. So I want to walk you through what I think actually gets in the way and how to do this in a way that you'll actually keep up with. Okay, I think the biggest issue is that people have really high expectations of what journaling is actually supposed to look like. Like you sit down and you wait for a big thought to show up, like something that feels worth writing down, some realization about your life, some deep feeling, something that actually sounds like it belongs in a journal. And when that thought doesn't come, you just close the notebook and decide that journaling just isn't for you. Or maybe you wanted to start because you saw some journals online, like the aesthetic ones with the pretty handwriting, and you liked how they looked and you wanted one too. But then you tried a page and it came out messy and not very pretty, so you didn't want to continue. I get that feeling completely, but that's not really how journaling works most of the time. It's not really for other people to see. It's your own personal space. And it's okay for it to be messy. It's okay for it to be ugly. So that's my first piece of advice. Stop trying to have a perfect journal. Write messily, have huge sloppy handwriting if that's what comes out. Use an ugly notebook or a random piece of paper or your phone or your laptop. It really doesn't matter what it looks like. The whole point is to take the thoughts that are spiraling and flying around in your head, slow them down, get them out, and put them onto something physical. That's the actual purpose, and doing that calms you down, it anchors you, and it gives you mental clarity. And I notice this in my own life. Whenever I write more, I feel more like myself. And when I go a while without writing, it's like I lose track of who I am or what I actually want. Everything just feels foggy and I feel confused. Now, maybe your goal is to make something aesthetic eventually, and that's fine too. But you need to accept that nothing looks good from day one. You have to let yourself make the not very pretty stuff first before you're able to make the prettier stuff later. So practice is everything, actually. And my second piece of advice is start from the mundane. Don't try to dig for the deep thoughts right away. Just sit down with your notebook and relax. Don't go in thinking, okay, I need to write something meaningful right now. Don't even have a goal in your head. Just sit with yourself for a second. And I promise you, kind of like how during meditation, a thought always shows up eventually, even when your mind feels blank. The same thing happens here. You will get a thought, and it will probably be very boring. Something like, this chair is really uncomfortable. Maybe I should move to the couch. Or, I'm getting hungry, I should eat soon. Just write that down, whatever it is. And then let your brain keep going and follow the associations. Like you write one small observation and it reminds you of something else, and that reminds you of something else, and eventually you land somewhere way more interesting than where you started. There's actually a great example of this. So Haruki Murakami, who is one of my favorite authors, wrote a book called What I Talk About When I Talk About Running. It's actually a pretty boring book. It's like his running journal when he was training for the New York City Marathon. He wrote about his training, how far he ran, what the weather was like, what happened during a particular race. But he also writes about discipline and aging and writing and what it means to keep doing something difficult for years. The mundane stuff and the deeper thoughts were happening together. And I think that's a much better way to think about journaling too. You don't have to sit down and decide, now I'm going to write about something meaningful. You can just write about what's actually happening, and if there's something underneath it, you can just follow it. Also, I want to mention that a lot of people journal by recapping their day, like what they did, who they talked to, how they felt about it. And that's a great way to journal. That's also something that you can try. And if that works for you, keep doing it. That's great. But I think this is actually where a lot of beginners get stuck. Because recap your day, that might sound simple, but when you actually sit down to do it, you might freeze. Like you'll think, okay, what happened today? And you just don't know. Or you get something like, I went to work, I came back home, I did nothing. And that feels boring and pointless to write, so you give up on writing. So if that's you, if the what happened today approach makes you freeze, or you feel like you have nothing to say, that's exactly why I would recommend you to start from the mundane stuff instead. It's kind of the same idea, just approached from a different angle. Instead of trying to summarize your whole day, you just grab whatever tiny thought is already sitting in your head and you just follow that. And that can end up opening things up a lot more naturally than trying to write a full report of your day. And this kind of writing doesn't always look like the traditional, neat journaling that we always imagine when we think about journaling. It works better as a messy conversation with yourself on paper, where you let your thoughts jump around instead of trying to organize them from the start. Because a lot of people expect journaling to go like you sit down, think about your day, and write a nice reflection of your day. One topic at a time with full sentences. There's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an ending. Your thoughts are already processed and neat before you even start writing. But we're not writing an essay for school, okay? Even when we write an essay, we do a draft, then we edit it, we change the placements of the paragraphs and stuff like that. But that's not what this is. Most of us don't think in a straight, organized way like that. Your brain makes connections more like in a web and not in a straight line. So when you force yourself into doing a polished type of journaling, your brain does two things at once. First, having the thought, and second, editing and organizing that thought while writing it. And that second job can make you lose the first thought entirely. So a better approach, I think, is something like conversation journaling, a more messy way of writing, a way of writing that jumps around, or it might have contradictions in it, and it's not a problem at all, because your journal isn't a final product that you're trying to sell. It's the place where you let your brain process stuff. So it can look something like a thought, then a related memory, then another idea, then some emotion, then another connection, and you go back to the original thought. Just let it move like that. Approach it as figuring out what you feel or think while you're on the page, not as writing down something that you're already fully figured out. Sometimes it will be like that too, sure, but not always, and that's fine. My next advice is for anyone who avoids journaling because they think their handwriting is bad or because they feel like they can't keep up with their own thoughts. If it's a handwriting thing, then try slowing down a bit and putting some actual effort into your letters and keep practicing that. A lot of the time, our handwriting gets messy because we're rushing to catch a thought before it disappears. But if slowing down makes you feel like you're losing thoughts, then maybe you can try voice journaling instead. You can just talk and record yourself, and then you can transcribe it into a notebook later. But if you think that will be boring, then you can just leave it as recording as well. Also, you can't really catch every single thought that you have because nobody can. So do what you can and let that be enough. Don't let it frustrate you when a thought slips away because that's completely normal. Try to catch one thread and just follow it wherever it goes. You can also try shortening your words or using abbreviations, or you can use arrows or keywords instead of full sentences. And actually, if a thought is really important, if it's something that you feel deep down, it will for sure come back to you later. And trying to desperately hold on to every single thought actually creates more anxiety, and that will actually make your working memory much worse. So just let some things go, which might be easier said than done. So why does writing like this actually do anything for you? The thoughts in your head, they loop. They repeat. They stay unclear and half-formed. And you carry them around the whole day without ever finishing them. You'll think about something stressful for like 2 seconds and then you'll get distracted. Maybe you'll come back to it an hour later and think about it another 2 seconds and never actually get to the end of it. And that's exhausting, even if you don't notice it happening. But when you put an actual thought into a sentence on paper, it has to become specific. And once it becomes specific, it stops looping the same way. Your brain gets to finish the sentence that it's been trying to say the whole day. And that's also why the mundane, associative style of writing works better than forcing a deep entry. When you follow one small thought to the next without judging it, you're just giving your brain room to go wherever it needed to go anyway. And most of the time, it actually takes you somewhere more honest. So really, the whole idea here is don't force it and relax. Let your thoughts do whatever they want to do, and just let your hand follow those thoughts onto the paper. Slow down long enough to finish one thought instead of half thinking it 40 different times in a day. And that can help with clarity and stress so much. So give it a try. Grab whatever you have, a piece of paper, an ugly notebook, and don't wait for a deep thought. Just write about something boring, like about watching this video or something, and let your mind take you wherever it wants to. Okay, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments your journaling process. I'd love to hear it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!